Welcome to your United States update for Wednesday, April 29th. On this episode, we're talking about thermal imaging and how it's already being used to detect individuals with high temperatures. I'm going to tell you where they're doing it. Also, we're going to talk about the airlines, and they're making some interesting requests of the government right now. And last, Kim Jong Un and some strange news coming out of North Korea. But before we talk about those things, you guys answered a couple of polls from yesterday's episode, and I want to give you the results. So the first one was, should Michelle Obama become Joe Biden's vice president and political running mate? And you guys said, majority of you said no. So the green and the red here are indicating no answers. The blue is the yes. The yellow is the yes with reservations. But 75% of you basically thought no, not a thing. And I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. Our second poll was, should voting by mail be expanded in the 2020 presidential election? And this one's kind of interesting because the majority of you actually felt yes. The blue and that red color there are yes. Now, the blue is absolutely, no one should go to a ballot. So nearly 40% of you believe no one should even enter into a ballot. In the red there, you said yes, but it should be limited. 45% said no. So this is showing sort of a big divide here, at least from our audience. And I think that could become a point of contention later on in November, especially when you see a divide that's so clear like that without one side or the other having the big advantage. So on to our first story, thermal imaging, and it's already being used now. This is not new technology. It is being used in China already, but now some places in America are adopting it. And what it does primarily is, as individuals walk into certain locations, there are cameras and a person stationed there, and they're watching these individuals walk in. And if it detects an elevated temperature, that individual is stopped, and then they are subject to further testing that can go on, maybe questioning to see how they're feeling. And if it's determined that they're not okay to come into the store, they're given a letter which asks them to please leave. And this is already being used. So this is a quote here. What we're seeing is there will be a new normal that will involve thermal screening as a frontline tool. Chris Bainter, Director of Global Business Development at FLIR Systems. Already a store in Georgia, which is a city farmers market, has set up this thermal imaging, and they are already handing these letters to individuals who they are determining must go back home if they have that elevated temperature above 100.4. So 98.6 is the average. So about a degree and a half above normal, and you're going back home. Question for you guys, and this is our poll for today. Do you think as a society we should adopt something like this? That as you're going into schools, hospitals, and businesses and locations, there should be an individual there for the protection of all, that as people come in, if somebody's indicating a elevated temperature and through additional screening, they are turned away. Is this something we should adopt? I want a really simple yes or no. Instead of giving you sort of in-betweens, just yes or no. My thoughts on it, I'm not too worried about the thermal imaging. My fear, though, is it just a stepping stone to something else? And I know a lot of times people say, oh, that's conspiracy theorish. It's really not, because once you open up one thing, then eventually other things will come that will be even more foolproof. Like, well, the thermal imaging is working, but we can actually do this too. And all of a sudden, we become a place where we have determined that safety and security is so important that we're willing to give up our freedoms and our liberties in order to secure it. And that could be a scary place to live. So that would be my hesitation on it, is that it would go further than that. But what do you guys think? Please answer the poll, and I will show you the results tomorrow. And moving on to our next story, which is about the airlines, which are obviously in a very bad situation right now, losing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars throughout this pandemic situation. Now, because they're receiving grant money from the government, they are required to keep a certain number of flights open to a number of different locations around the United States. And so they're making some requests to the government that they could shut down flights to certain areas, even though they're supposed to keep them open. Delta wants to suspend flights to 9 airports in Lansing, Flint, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Worcester, Massachusetts, Hilton Head, South Carolina, Pocatello, Idaho, Brunswick, Georgia, and Melbourne, Florida. And they said between April 1st and April 22nd, just 1 to 14 passengers flew on the airline's planes. Earlier in this month, Spirit was actually rejected from stopping flights in New York and New Jersey because of this new grant situation. And so as they're petitioning the government to shut down these flights, they're saying nobody's flying these things. 1 to 14 people in a 2 to 3 week period. Can we please stop? I mean, I understand we need this grant money, but it's not making any sense. And so right now they're petitioning the government on that. My thoughts is it's foolish to keep those flights open. What they should do is they should have major hubs that are open. And so if you make a flight from one place to another, it should be within a reasonable distance to the location you need to get to. So normally if you could go to an airport and it could take you somewhere that would be within an hour of your destination through car or taxi or whatever, now there should be a requirement that an airline can at least take you to a location that's within 4 hours of your final destination or something like that, so that they're not overly burdened with keeping open flights in which perhaps nobody is even flying on the plane. Hopefully the government will respond to that. And our final story today is Kim Jong Un. Now, I'm sure you guys are aware by now, but he has not been seen since April 11th. And the recording of this video is April 29th. So that's quite a while. And this is especially true because he missed the celebration commemorating his grandfather, which was on April 15th, which is a serious deal in North Korea. It's something you don't miss and something he would never miss. And his face has not been seen. His voice has not been heard since that. He did, though, recently within the last day or two, send out a thank you letter to workers at a tourist zone. And so North Korea is touting that as evidence that Kim Jong Un is absolutely fine. So Kim Jong Un is absolutely fine. He sent out a thank you letter. That solves all the issues there. So, no. Obviously, this guy's in a lot of problems right now. If you've ever seen footage of this man walking around, he's supposedly 36 years old, although technically we don't actually know how old he is. He is a chain smoker, a drinker, and he eats whatever he wants. He's about, 5'8" or something? And he weighs about 300 pounds. They've actually done some studies where when he has press times with Trump and other things, they'll count the times he's actually breathing in and out. He breathes very excessively. So he's had some major issues, and not being seen right now, he's in serious problems, serious trouble. Even if he makes it out of this, there's no guarantee he'd even be around for another 5 or 6 years after that, especially if he doesn't take care of himself. So this will be some major implications for the world because obviously the relationship with North Korea is just not very good, but really between anyone except for North Korea and China. Other than that, no one else really gets along with them. So we'll see what happens with that. I hope you guys found this information valuable. If you're still with me and you're looking for the stimulus update, that is going to be coming in a couple of hours on the channel. Consider subscribing and turning on the notifications if you enjoy the style here, which is a low-key, easy, simple sort of style. And that's our goal for you guys. So as always, we will catch you guys next time.